Okay, guys, you should have this reading called Three Child Labor in the Coal Mines. I'm going to read this with you and we're going to discuss a couple of things. So it says the arrogant attitude of the coal operators seemed less excusable in light of John Spargo's book, The Bitter Cry of the Children. Another significant contribution to the muckraking movement. So muckraking movement, again, this name has been given by Theodore Roosevelt to describe the progressives who are going into egregious situations from the Gilded Age and reporting on this stuff. So Spargo, he's an English-born socialist. Spargo had come to America in 1901 at the age of 25. He was especially stirred by the rickety children in the New York tenement district. Their mothers had no time to prepare proper meals, needlework, labor in the sweatshops, and ran 12 to 20 hours a day at, so I know it flips the page. Let me go over to the part of the book that we're in. A wage renting from 10 cents to 1.5 cents an hour. Spargo, description of the work in the coal mines. What were the various kinds of hazards involved? So that's what we're going to look at today, these conditions that these kids are working out in the coal mines. And we know that the coal mines are really important at this time because this is how we get stuff to light our homes. Coal is very important in the process of steel. At this time, we do not have child labor. We don't have child labor laws. We don't have compulsory school. So I'm going to read this article to y'all that is one of in our ancillary book that y'all don't have, but I just made a copy of it for y'all. So, work in the coal breakers is exceedingly hard and dangerous. Crouched over the chutes, the boys sit hour after hour, picking out pieces of slate and other refuse from the coal as it rushes past to the washers. From the cramped positions they have to assume, most of them become more or less deformed and bent back like old men. When a boy has been working for some time and he begins to get round-shouldered, his fellow says he's got a boy to carry around wherever he goes. So basically these boys are getting really like turtle-like, hunchback at this time. The coal is hard, and accidents to the hands such as cut, broken, or crushed fingers are common among the boys. Sometimes there's a worse accident. A terrified shriek is heard, and a boy is mangled and torn into the machinery, or disappears in the chute, to be picked out later smothered and dead. Clouds of dust fill the breakers and are inhaled by boys, laying for their foundation for asthma and miners' consumption. I don't know if you know what miners' consumption is, but that's basically cancer. So looking at this, John Spargo is really giving us some grim stuff about how our children are working in the coal mines. So this is John Spargo. He says, I once stood at a breaker for half an hour, and I tried to do the work of 12-year boy was doing day after day for 10 hours at a stretch, for 60 cents a day. The gloom of the breaker appalled me. Outside, the sun shone brightly, the air was lucid, and the birds sang in chorus with the trees and the rivers. Within the breaker, there was blackness. Clouds of deadly dust enfolded everything. The harsh grinding roar of the machinery and the ceaseless rushing of coal through the chutes filled the ears. I tried to pick out the pieces of slate from the hurrying stream of coal, often missing them. My hands were bruised and cut in a few minutes. I was covered from head to foot with coal dust, and for many hours afterward, I was expirating some small particles of anthrax that I had swallowed. Sorry, guys, I could not do the work and live, but there was boys of 10 and 12 years of age doing it for 50 and 60 cents a day. Some of them had never been inside of a school. Few of them could read a child's primer. True, some of them attended the night schools, but after working 10 hours in the breakers, the educational results from attending school was practically nil. We goes there for a good time, and we keeps the guys who's there hoping all the time, said little Owen Jones, whose work I had been trying to do. As I stood inside the breaker, I thought, of the reply of the small boy of Robert Owen, a British social reformer, visiting an English coal mine one day. Owen asked a 12-year-old lad, if he knew God. The boy stared vacantly at the questionnaire. God, he said. God? No, I don't. He must work in another mine. It was hard to realize, amid the danger and the din and blackness of the Pennsylvania breaker, that such a thing as a belief in a great almighty God exists. From the breakers, the boys graduated into the mine depths, where they became door tenders, switch boys, or mule drivers. Here, far below the surface, work is still more dangerous. At 14 or 15, the boys assume the same risk as men and are surrounded by the same perils. Nor is it in Pennsylvania that only these conditions exist. In the Bootman's mines of West Virginia, boys of 9 or 10 are frequently employed. I met one little fellow, 10 years old, at Mount Carbon, West Virginia, last year, who was employed as a trap boy. Think of what it means to be a trap boy at 10 years of age. It means to sit alone in a dark mine passage, hour after hour, with no human soul near, to see no living creature except the mules as they pass with, sorry guys, I need change, and y'all need to change too, with their loads, or a rat or two seeking to share one's meal, to stand in the water or mud that covers the ankles, chilled to the marrow with the cold draughts that rush you when open the trap door for the mules to pass through, to work 14 hours waiting, opening and shutting the door, then waiting again for 60 cents to reach the surface when all is wrapped in the mantle of night, and to fall to the earth exhausted, and to have to be carried away to the nearest shaft, to be revived before possible to walk further to a shack called home. Boys 12 years of age may be legally employed in the mines of West Virginia, by day or by night, for as many hours as the employers care to make them toil, or their bodies will stand the strain. Where the disregard for a child's life is much such that this may be done openly with legal sanction. It is easy to believe what the miners have again and again told me, that there's hundreds of little boys of 9 and 10 years of age employed in the coal mines of the state. So looking at this rhetoric that he's using, we're seeing that he's appealing to the pathos of people saying, my gosh, look at the conditions. And this is going to lead to people, other progressives, jumping in on this movement saying that we need to have child labor laws. If you look up the federal child labor laws and even state child labor laws, we're going to see that the first thing is you can't operate big machinery and you can't be in the coal mines. So the progressives are going to be effective in getting child labor reform through their prose that appeals to sympathy, to looking at what these kids are going through. Okay, we're going to read another one, and I'm going to pause it here and then I'll pick it up in a video.